Hey everyone, I'm Christina Raia, Seed&Spark's Head of Education. If you're not familiar with Seed&Spark, we're a platform built to support creators by providing tools for wherever you are in your journey, from crowdfunding and education to creative distribution approaches. And this is our weekly Lunch and Learn session where we discuss different topics related to creative inspiration and sustainability. And I'm joined by a bunch of my colleagues at Seed&Spark to discuss how you can use events to promote your projects. So why don't you all introduce yourselves?
Sure. You guys probably know me. I'm Bri Castellini. I'm Seed&Spark's Film Community Manager and frequent Lunch and Learn talking person.
My name is Brandi Nicole Payne. I am Seed&Spark's Crowdfunding Specialist. And yeah, hi.
Hey, I'm Shaina Rose Woolley. I am Seed&Spark's events manager, and I'm usually behind the scenes on the Lunch and Learns and Seed&Spark events.
Yeah, and we're all filmmakers. We've all crowdfunded. We make a bunch of different projects, and so we'll be talking a lot about our own experiences, but we also want to hear from the audience, so feel free to comment, ask questions throughout. So
yeah, we really want this to be collaborative. So since we're going to be talking about like all of the different kinds of events that you can run, both IRL eventually, hopefully, and virtual, if you are thinking about using events and hosting something as a way to promote either a crowdfunding project or a completed or in progress project, drop your log line or a couple of themes and we will help you brainstorm.
That's right. So who wants to start with some events that they've hosted?
I'll start. Maybe 5 years now, might be even 6. I crowdfunded for a short film called Muted, which you can see online or on Seed&Spark. And what we did was, at the time I lived in Los Angeles, and my producer, Tara Tomicevic, and we rented out a bar, which sounds incredibly expensive. And trust me, we did not have bar money. So what we did was, first of all, the bar, it was still in existence pre-COVID-19. So I hope that it still will be afterwards, but it's called The Parlor. It's in West Hollywood. And because in a former life, used to be an events manager, I knew that Mondays and Tuesdays are generally dead. And those of you in the service industry, you know that as well. And so we asked if we could rent out a section it was either a Monday or Tuesday night. And as a result, we did not have to pay anything up front. We basically had to guarantee a bar minimum. And I think it was something like $500, which we knew that with our friends, because it wasn't just alcohol, there was also food. Yes, okay. That we would hit that. And so we did. And so we rented out the bar during the campaign. And as a result, not only did we get people to come in, and they had a screen. And so we were able to play our crowdfunding campaign on the screen. We also had a laptop so that for whatever reason, if people didn't want to contribute on their phones, they could use the laptop to log in and make a contribution. And then we also accepted cash as well. And for a significant amount, we had one team member add that to the pot online so that it could increase. So that was my crowdfunding event, and it was super successful. And it more than bringing in money, it got people excited for the project that was.
Yeah, that's really cool. And we just lost Shay briefly, but they're back. Yay! Something that you should consider if you're doing online events virtually for promoting is that sometimes that might be a thing. So keep in mind that internet speeds will definitely impact your ability to do stuff. Yeah. So definitely look into ways of mitigating that. And hello, everyone. We've got people saying hello from LA, from New Orleans. Pauline says that they love the Parlor. So that's a shout out. Very, very cool. For those of you just joining us, remember, if you want us to talk about helping you promote a project that you're working on right now, let us know what the project's about. Maybe we'll riff. So since I'm talking now, I guess I'll go next. So I have done a number of events. I do a lot of, I used to produce events for my last job. I produce events for this job. So event management and planning has always been something I'm comfortable with. In terms of crowdfunding in particular, I had two things that I did for my last two campaigns. For my 2018 crowdfunding campaign for my web series, Sam and Pat Are Depressed. We did a 6-hour live stream for the last 6 hours of our crowdfunding campaign. And that was a project where we'd already raised what our goal was, because it was a pretty small goal. And we were more using the campaign as like a marketing tool to kind of hype people up about the new season of the work. And so there are a lot of things I learned from this, but I really did enjoy the 6-hour live stream because it gave people an opportunity to kind of come in and out. Like there was a clear reason why it was happening during this period of time. Like the end of the live stream was the end of the campaign. So people got to watch in real time as we built it up. And it was a fun way of us just like having a good time with our audience and letting them, you know, a little bit at a time influence the nonsense we were doing on screen. So for instance, my co-star and co-executive producer, Chris, not just painted, but created, let's call it a portrait of me during the course of 1 hour of the live stream. And anytime somebody gave us a little bit of money, they could, if they just like let us know when we verified it, she would change what like type of art material she was using to draw me. So, you know, it started out as just like paint and markers and stuff. And then somebody would contribute a little bit of money and say, hey, start using the stickers. And she had bought a bunch of like poop emoji stickers. So that became part of the painting. A woman named Ellen, who found us on YouTube explicitly from the live stream, wanted us to draw a horse and name it after her. So we drew a horse into the portrait and named it after her. So like it just became like a very collaborative, silly thing that we did to kind of just celebrate the success of the campaign and, you know, just get people excited about like, this is exactly the tone you're going to get. And then for my most recent project, which was riddled with far more tech problems, despite it being far less time, is my co-writer and I, Colin Hinckley, for my short film Buy-In, did a live stream where where I read excerpts from my childhood stories, because I've been a writer since I was 5 years old, and there's a lot of stuff in there that is not good and very funny. And so anytime someone gave a certain amount of money, I would read an additional page or two, and Colin would like illustrate as I read. So it became this very silly kind of back and forth of like showing how far we'd come. And that was less tonally related to the project because we were making a psychological horror. But it was just like a fun way of getting people, you know, excited. This happened the first weekend of our stay-at-home orders. So, you know, we knew people were kind of like not sure what was happening and needed something to do because like all these plans had just been canceled. So that was kind of what we were doing for that. And I've done a lot of other smaller things, but those are my two main like crowdfunding live streaming things that I've done.
Before we, thank you, Bri. Before we move on, I'd love to hear from the two of you as our resident crowdfunding experts, if you could tell the audience a little bit why like events matter, especially in crowdfunding, and you know, a little bit of sort of why you need to maintain engagement and momentum and change up the way that you engage people throughout a campaign.
I'll kick it off. Bri just sort of alluded to it when she just said that it's an effective marketing tool. Well, I'll say it can be an effective marketing tool if you properly prepare. You know, because crowdfunding is it's an online thing. You have to engage your audiences in different ways besides just look at the campaign and look at the video. Because if they have seen that, you still have to keep their excitement and their enthusiasm going. So I have found that events have been a very cool way for you to continue to engage supporters, even especially after you've sort of seen the dip, which if you're one of the few filmmakers who they don't experience the dip, you just like reach your goal right out the gate. God bless you, more power to you. That has not been my experience in the multiple times that I've campaigned. I've had the dip, and then we've had to like figure out how do we get people to engage again and to sustain their support, so much so that they're either willing to give again, or even better, that they're willing to share it with someone else who they feel like it will be resonating with. And that's another sort of byfactor. That is that if they don't feel comfortable sharing the campaign itself, sharing the event is a way to share the campaign. Hey, here's this cool event that I think will resonate with you. Why don't you check it out? And then that person checks out the event, and then maybe they'll give, or they'll become a follower, which is also something that helps you as a filmmaker.
Yeah, it's a gateway drug of marketing ploys. So co-sign everything Brandi just said. And I would also just add that like the reason that it's hard to maintain momentum during a crowdfunding campaign is because once the novelty is worn off after like the first week of like, I'm crowdfunding, look at how well we're doing. Because like there's always going to be novelty and excitement around the first week of a crowdfunding campaign. But eventually just saying, hey, I'm crowdfunding doesn't really do anything for anyone. Like they sort of filter it out. Like our brains are trained in such a way that we actually filter out information and that we've seen before because we kind of just like know what it's going to say, if that makes sense. Like the reason that so many car accidents happen around like within 3 blocks of your home are because when you're driving down a familiar road, you're not actually looking at the road. Your brain is filling in the information that it has seen over and over and over again and only actually pays attention when something new happens. But when you're kind of on autopilot, when you're too familiar with something, you just filter it out. And that's a long way to say that the same thing happens when the only thing that you're talking about with people is, hey, I'm crowdfunding. Hey, I'm crowdfunding. And it's like, I know, I have not been convinced, you know, or like, I know I've already given money. Like, what else do you need from me? So having sort of fun, new things to add into the mix that are crowdfunding adjacent and still ultimately, you know, link back into your goal of give me money or watch my show or whatever. But that are new and unique things that you can promote on their own behalf gives you something else to say so that people aren't filtering out your information. If you're just saying the same thing over and over again, even if like the end thing you want people to do, the end call to action is the same, people are going to filter that out. So events are a really fun way of like taking a break from, hey, I'm crowdfunding to, hey, we're doing this fun event. You should attend and bring your friends. And then during the event say, hey, we're crowdfunding, but you know, you're presenting it in a new way. And hopefully the event is fun enough that they're like, I trust these people. They seem on the up and up. So,
but I'm sorry. I love the way that you just like dropped your voice like it was a timeshare. Hey, now that you're here, I'm crowdfunding.
I've been expecting you.
I'd also like to add that, you know, we're talking a lot about crowdfunding and that is what most of us have run events for, but a lot of this can translate to like releasing a project. It's kind of the same thing. You have an ask that you're repeating over and over. And so trying to create a new way of engaging people. And I've self-distributed a lot of films and I find it's very similar to crowdfunding. It's sort of like in reverse as opposed to counting down how close you are to like raising enough of the budget to make the thing. You're kind of, maybe in my case, like I'm often counting down how much we've made till we break even or like until we profit off of the thing. And that same kind of like campaigning that you're doing for a crowdfunding campaign is similar for distribution. So a lot of this can apply. And similarly, like maybe someone has already watched the film, but you're trying to get them to spread the word. You're trying to get them to tell their friends, to write a review. Like there's just a lot of different ways you can keep engaging people, even if they've already done the thing.
Totally.
So Shay, why don't you tell us about your experience?
Yeah. Can you guys hear me? Is my internet okay? Okay.
Yeah.
So I actually just crowdfunded it feels like forever ago. I think it was maybe April and May. I crowdfunded for a short film called Swoon Town, which is a really like silly, quirky, highly stylized queer film. It's a satire about the performance of gender. And I'm maybe in a unique position where I actually produce a live event before safer at home orders happened. Once a month, I help run a circus in LA, which is like essentially a night of queer performance art. The Secret Circus LA, it's a lot of fun. And so my original plan with using events to help me crowdfund was to project the pitch video onto one of the walls in the middle of like one of the first act probably, or like in between the first and second acts of the circus. And yeah, just share the pitch video, let that mostly speak for myself, but then also, you know, give a little spiel about like who I am, what I'm doing. I felt like that was a really perfect audience. Like the people who go to a queer circus are very much the people who like would want to see Swoontown in real life in its completion. So yeah, and then I mean some other ideas that I had for the live iteration was like having the actors perform their own acts during the circus, and like, you know, just being like, oh, by the way, this is the person who's playing this character in Swoontown. And I also take photos, like not like as an event photographer, but like I set up like a cute little cheesy photo booth at all of the circuses. So I was gonna have it be like Swoontown themed. So these were all of my lovely ideas for when real life in-person events were happening, but the pandemic kind of happened like right around the time I was crowdfunding. So I did end up, we started moving our circuses to Zoom, which is the most fun Zoom call you'll ever be on, I promise. You know, which are like so silly, and of course have all of these like weird tech challenges of trying to have all of this performance art online, but they're really fun. And yeah, and I just shared the pitch video and gave a little spiel. And I did think, you know, I definitely got followers from the project who heard about it through the circus. So yeah.
Very cool. Real quick, Shay, someone asked how much was your budget?
So like for that I crowdfunded for?
Yeah.
Okay. So my original budget was like 13,000. And then when I was literally like about to launch my campaign the day that the LA Safer at Home order was put in place. So it was like, okay, I'm gonna hold on a second and just like, you know, rework exactly how I should go about this, if I should go about this. And, you know, I decided that I did want to crowdfund, and I cut my budget like basically in half. I cut it to 6,500, and it was just for production. And then we reached that with about a week to go. So I set the stretch goal to still get to like 13K, and we ended up making a little over 8K. So
awesome.
Yes.
Cool. Well, really quickly, we've already got some questions coming in. So unless anyone else has any high-level stuff that they want to talk about, I guess Christina, you haven't actually given an example. Do you have an example you want to share?
Sure. Yeah. So I've crowdfunded 4 times, and like I said earlier, I've released a lot of projects. So I've done a few things. I have done kind of parties similar to Brandi, where you get a venue that's free, that is just based on how much is spent at the bar, and that tends to work really well because, as Brandi said, getting people in a room gets them excited, gets them, you know, attached to the people that are part of the project, and they're more likely to contribute. I've done some like screenings of past work, similarly trying to find a free venue that would make money. Like I found theaters are often not willing to give you a free space, but places that have a screen and a projector, but also have a bar or make money off of food, they're very often willing to give you a free venue to screen. And so I've done like, come watch my past work, and then it's like a small kind of pay what you can at the door situation, and that money goes towards the campaign. But my favorite examples of things that I've done have been ones that really tied into the project that I was making. So my first feature is a horror film, and I had a really close relationship with my kickboxing instructor at the time. And so I asked him to do a free self-defense class. And it was one of the incentives for my campaign. If you gave it a certain level, you got to attend this class. And we recorded it and sent it to anyone who wasn't local. And then we also got like an update out of it. So it was a really, really cool way to tie into the film. And it was like, you know, come learn how to survive a horror movie. That was sort of the messaging around it. And then another one I did for my second feature, which has a donkey in it. We were working with this donkey sanctuary in upstate New York. They have about 12 donkeys that they've rescued, and they're used as therapy animals for children with developmental issues and for the elderly. And so they do these like walks, these hikes with the donkeys, where you just get to like have a kind of therapeutic, tranquil hike through the woods with some donkeys. And we went on one of those. We went to visit, and we turned it into sort of a live stream. It wasn't like, we didn't bring people with us, though there were some people who were like really high contributors that that we would have offered. If they wanted to come, they could have. But that was a really fun way to have like a live event that's also being live streamed that people can see. And we found that just it's not a surprise that videos of animals tend to do well on the internet. So like they were shared, the live stream is shared around quite a bit. And so that I recommend that, like if you can think about what you have to offer in your relationships with people that you can turn into a free event, that can be an incentive in your campaign that ties into the themes or the setting or whatever it is. I think you'll have more success, especially in the marketing, because like having an event that is a screening is always fun, and a party is always fun, but I think you'll get more traction online if it's really tied in thematically as much as possible.
Totally. And it also serves as like a supplemental, sorry, Brandi, it just serves as like a supplemental thing, because sometimes just saying like, this is a cool idea isn't enough. Like you want people to be enticed by something they already like or want or care about or want to do. Like I've been meaning to take a self-defense class. Sure. Or, I do love, I need a therapeutic walk in my life with cute animals. And, you're also a filmmaker. That's great. It's sometimes easier to bring people in with something that they'll like, regardless of who you or your project are. And then if they have a good experience, hey, I'm also crowdfunding, etc.
What I was going to say, speaking of Christina's point about tying it in. So one of our filmmakers, Julia Manis, her short film, I believe it's called Mel and Ruby. And I'm not sure if it's available online, but you can certainly find their campaign on our site. It's basically a short film about a woman whose friend, something along the lines of like, has some mixed feelings about taking her to get an abortion. It's something similar to that. But the reason I'm bringing this up is that they decided to have an event where Julia is also apparently a burlesque performer. And so if you gave at a certain level, you got to watch a burlesque performance. And I just thought that made so much sense, because burlesque is all about feminine and female empowerment and, owning your body. And so it tied so perfectly into what the short was about. And for people who maybe didn't necessarily care about the topic matter of the short, but wanted to see something burlesque, they got to see something that they wanted, and it still contributed to this campaign. So I thought that was great.
Yeah, that's a great idea. All right, so let's get to some brainstorming. So the first logline sort of pitch that we have is from Jules, who's a friend of mine from the web series world. Thanks for skipping web series chat today. Sorry, Snobby Robot. So Jules is talking about how their project has some kind of dark themes in a way that shows the light that comes after. Also, it's semi-based on a Charles Dickens novel called David Copperfield. So what are we thinking about? And there's a couple of other pitches in here already of just like log lines that are a little bit darker in theme. So like we've all been talking kind of like about like lighter subjects and things like that. And certainly it's easier to come up with like a funny idea. But yeah, for maybe a darker themed project, in this case, one based on David Copperfield. I'm not familiar with that book, but the people in this chat are smarter than me. So hopefully you guys will have a better idea.
So I'm also not familiar with that particular book, but I will say, so my next project is a short that deals around sexual assault, which is very heavy. And recently I attended a Zoom workshop that was all about, meditation for compassion and just about like positive touch. And it was all over Zoom, but like, it was, first of all, the Body a Home for Love they were the host of this, and Chetna Mehta was the presenter, and so she did a whole like workshop on what happens to your body when you go through trauma, and then afterwards there was this guided meditation where you could turn off your video, and she like for 20 minutes I wanted to go to sleep afterwards. It was so great. It was so great with the music in the background and everything. And so I realized that I want to incorporate something like that when I get ready to crowdfund for my next short, where it can, if we are still under quarantine, we can do something like that where not only does it bring together people who care about this topic matter, but it also gets to like connect us community-wise, because it was such a strong sense of community and being together, even though we weren't together. I don't know if it will speak to whatever sort of dark themes this book is, because I'm not familiar with this book, but something like that, where if you can gather that community together, whatever that interest is that they all share, where they can have that shared moment, I think could work very well.
Yeah, that's great. And Brandi, I think you also speak to a really great point about like building community is sometimes can be a great like thesis statement of an event, and also education. Like, don't underestimate how like offering a like almost class of kinds, a cooking class, a meditation class, things like that, or just creating a safe space for people to gather. The web series Binge, which I think we will hopefully be having a lunch and learn with the creators of soon. They recently released a 3-part miniseries of their dark comedy eating disorder series set during the pandemic and leading up to it. And since then, they've been hosting these weekly or sometimes bi-weekly, like twice a week, events, like live streams, where one of the co-creators who struggled with an eating disorder for many years, they're called the Saturday support streams, and she just gathers people who are also struggling during the pandemic, because people with eating disorders are particularly at risk because of the nature of this quarantine. And it's just a live stream to chat. Sometimes sometimes she doesn't even talk about the show. She's just there to provide a place for people to come together and share their frustrations and give each other hope and just chat. And those are great things to do, because like there is a reason that storytelling is so important right now. And so if your event can also solve someone's problem, teach them something new, or simply just give them a space to breathe, that is hugely powerful. And you would be amazed at how much more credible you are then in that community when eventually you want to ask for something, watch my film, crowdfund with me, etc.
Yeah. And I mean, I know, Bri, that you said like, oh, well, we've all been thinking of like some lighthearted stuff, how we're going to handle this one. But I think one of my takeaways of going through like Seed&Spark crowdfunding education is like, even if your film is really intense and tackling some like dark or just like heavy subject matter, your crowdfunding campaign can still totally have like silly, cheesy, like fun elements to it. Because I mean, this isn't entirely true, but like at least in like a kind of quick like Instagram mindset kind of way, like that's probably what people are going to respond to. Or not probably, but that has worked in the past. But so one of my ideas with this is, first of all, if it's based on a book that has a following, like, find the community that really loves this book. And you could do, if it's, we're still in quarantine when you do this, you could do like a live stream reading of the book. You could even find people who like have favorite passages and like let them come on and have a chance to read parts of it. You could like, I don't know how far you want to go, but you could come up with like a really silly like Zoom act out of the book, of like a passage of the book, and like get some of your actor friends or like the actors in the film to just like, go as far out as they can in like a Zoom live reading. So yeah, I think if it's tied to a book, using the book would be a cool way to get people who already like are going to be interested in this but might not know about the project.
I think also just because it is a little bit vague, like what exactly dark themes and coming into light, like what you're referring to there, but just that imagery is really interesting to me. And so like doing something with lighting, like that just is what I see when I hear that. And so I think thinking about that, like even if it's like an experience that brings people from darkness into light, right? You could create that.
Yeah, that's cool. I'll also say something that you just said gave me an idea of maybe literally just do a book club. Like since so Jules makes a web series. It's called Public History. That's what she's promoting right now, and it's based on a book that's in public domain. So what if you did like a chapter a week or something, or a couple chapters a week, and just did like a book group? And so it sort of exists on its own, where people can come to discuss the book together. Maybe like the people on stream are like you and an actor or two who are committed to it, but then you have people in the comments like chiming in with like their responses to the book, and you just like let that exist on its own, and then remind people, hey, we actually adapted this book for modern audiences. The latest 2 episodes went up, link in the bio, but that can like be its own experience and get people in, you know, who love reading and who have maybe read the book before and want to talk about it, or have never read the book but have always wanted to because it's like, you know, a classic. It's Charles Dickens. So that might be something that you consider too. But let's, speaking of more darker topics, we've got another comment from Rashmi, who pitches us the logline for their feature film script. Physically and emotionally abused by her husband, a middle-aged Indian woman discovers a real love when she least expected and rebuilds the broken relationship with her daughter. So that's definitely intense. I think Brandi's meditation event that she was talking about definitely feels like it would be at home here.
And also there are a ton of people on Instagram who speak to people who have gone through rocky relationships and are all about rebuilding and loving yourself after going through any sort of emotional trauma or abuse. So if it is possible to connect with one of them, I mean, I will say because of the quarantine, people are so much more accessible right now, you know, to see what their rates would be to come on as a guest. And you never know, they may give you a deal or even do it pro bono because they believe in the project if they have the capacity to offer that. Do not expect it. But if they have the capacity to offer it at a free or reduced rate, where they can come on and speak to your audience and or offer some sort of tools or resources that you all could use, again, connecting with the community.
Yeah. Also, I guess just to add, like, my example was done in a playful way in terms of the self-defense class, but that could definitely be done in a very different way, messaging wise, that would work very well. Just anything that's like about power, like regaining power of your body, I think it would be really applicable. And also just like the mother-daughter thing is really interesting to me. And so that, like, maybe it's like a class that mothers and daughters do together, and that's
nice.
Yeah, like a bridging generations thing. I was also thinking if you and your mother, or like you're an actress and their mother is comfortable, like just interviewing your mom as a live stream and kind of just like talking about generational things, like that could be definitely very interesting. Boy, I'd love to interview my mom because that would be wild, and I would not come out great, but it would be hilarious.
Well, and also similar to that, because she also says she discovers real love where she least expected. Maybe you could bring on couples who can talk about their love story because it is an unexpected love story. Like, I love that. I eat that up when I hear about people in whatever sort of relationship it is, and coming together when they didn't expect it. That is like the rom-com lover in me. Knowing that it's real life makes me feel good. So you could have people like submit that, yeah, and then Zoom it or whatever. That'd be awesome.
That's really cute. Also, this is a little bit like outside the box of this specifically, but I know that I'm in a lot of like professional women's groups, and I've seen a lot of events that seem to be very popular that I've never attended, but I'm kind of curious now of where they have somebody sort of take you through how to build like I don't know what it's called, but like a vision board, like where you're building your vision board for like rebuilding something or working towards something. And that's very fun and visual. And, you know, you can encourage people to like go through their houses and find like things to add to the vision board and like, you know, how to shout your intentions to the universe and stuff like that. I don't know what the word they use.
Yes, no, listen, vision board parties are totally a thing. And then if you add like mimosas to it or wine as well, I am there. So yes.
Or create your own cocktail that's themed on your project and like give people instructions before the stream of like, hey, if you want to drink along with like the official cocktail of this project, like here you go. You know, maybe you have a mixologist friend, or maybe you can experiment yourself and see something. So yeah, I think there's a lot of opportunities here. Thank you so much for pitching. Okay, Helena says they haven't started any campaigns. They're just gathering info, but their project is an LGBTQ+ series about a socially avoidant woman who must complete social challenges from her therapist or face group therapy, which I love as a concept. Like the therapist is threatening, you might have to talk to other people, so you better go do something else. Very cool. I mean, what are the social challenges? It sounds like if you have literal social challenges that are going to be present in your script, like do those for people. And like, they doesn't all have to be people like inviting people who are socially avoidant, but you know, presumably these social challenges are things that other people enjoy doing. So maybe take people on a tour of social challenges, or maybe do one a week or something like that.
Yeah, I like that idea of bringing the audience into what is awkward, because I'm sure other people can relate. And anytime you can get people to relate to your campaign, that builds your audience.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Shay, any advice from the Queer Circus for this LGBTQ series?
Yeah, I mean, you could turn anything into a circus, really. But I mean, I think, you know, like mental health and queerness, I mean, mental health and any marginalized identity are often things that people are experiencing simultaneously. So just like, I think you could even start like kind of like a little like social media initiative where you're having like people in queer communities talk who struggle with like maybe some of the similar mental illnesses or challenges that your character has, like how that they've dealt with it in their real life. And it could be like a story highlight of just kind of like little tidbits of advice of how people in real life are handling, you know, social anxiety. And I mean, well, I will say this, sorry, this is going back to me a little bit, but like one of the ways that I market the circus, which I genuinely believe in, is that it's the perfect event for introverts and extroverts, because if you don't want to talk to people, you can just watch the acts. Like, I'm actually not really a big party person. I don't like to go to parties, but I love to go to performance art-based events because, like, yeah, I don't have to, if I want to talk to people, I can, but I can literally just like stand alone and watch the cool art that's happening in front of me.
Yeah.
So, you know,
That's
if it's happening back when we're in real life, I think you could definitely have some performance art based event that, and you know, you could it as like calling socially anxious friends and community members. This is the event for you.
Yes. You could also do an IG Live where you bring on a therapist as your guest who specializes in working with clients who have these social challenges so that they can help to like debunk certain myths and give some tips on how to like ease into the social world, if that is the goal, but basically how to manage those challenges, you know, and that's only like an hour, 45 minutes of their time. That might be something to consider.
Totally. Yeah. And also for those of you who are thinking about this, not just for crowdfunding, but for anything, you know, an event doesn't have to just be a one-time thing. Like a couple of the ideas that we've talked about today are kind of like event series. And especially if like each one is short, you know, and it doesn't require a ton of prep work. It's just maybe like coming up with an idea or inviting a guest on, like that's also a totally valid way of continuing momentum and maybe allowing that to live on past the project so that it can continue promoting the thing long after, you know, the first month is up.
Yeah. So I like want to bring something up that like I imagine maybe people in the audience would be wondering, which is like how I'll suggest when you're putting on an event, how do you suggest also promoting your project in a way that like, I don't know, like feels good and allows the event to like hold whatever space it's meant to hold as its own thing, but like still, you know, getting your event out there as was the goal.
Totally. So I'm going to take a quick break from event questions because we do have a question from Zara.
Well, wait.
Sorry,
because I think she was actually asking us that question.
Yeah.
Shay, am I right, Shay?
Oh, sorry.
No, it's okay.
Yeah, we just get to that. Did you want to answer it, Brandi, or I can?
It doesn't matter.
I think that the event, so if we're talking crowdfunding is kind of like, you don't want to just be repeating the same thing over and over on social anyway. So for the time that the event is getting promoted, that is like your campaign promotion because it's always about driving traffic back to the campaign. So maybe it's just a matter of like information about the event lives in an update on the campaign page. So any promotion you do to get people to find out more information about the event is also driving them to the campaign itself. So I think it's really like, because the event ultimately is, yes, of course, can exist on its own, but it is to build awareness and to build momentum and excitement for the campaign or whatever it is you're releasing, the action you're trying to get people to take, the immediate promotion should all just revolve around that thing, because it's a funnel to get there, and it's the current funnel that you're promoting, if that makes sense.
Yeah, maybe a ticket to the event is an incentive. And so it's just your crowdfunding campaign acts as a ticket link. It could also be a matter of like, you promote the event and then underneath say all proceeds from this event go to support, and then just link the campaign, like, treat the campaign like an organization that the event is supporting, the same way that happens.
Thanks for asking that, Shay. It's a good question.
Yeah, sorry, Shay. I think I was reading a comment and just totally did not hear the end of your thing. That is my bad.
Don't worry at all.
So speaking of crowdfunding, so Zara asks, I'm an emerging writer who's a little shy of crowdfunding releasing a project just because I don't know much about the process. What are some tips you can offer to newbies? So that's a pretty broad question. And I see that our wonderful social storyteller has given you a link to some of our other education materials. But just speaking maybe to the shyness aspect, not just for crowdfunding, but also for maybe doing an event. Shay, you mentioned that you're, a little bit more on the introverted spectrum, and I certainly am there too. So like, what are shyness tips y'all can give?
I'm not shy, so I don't think I'm the best person to answer that.
Yeah, I mean, like, Bri, were you asking like what are shyness tips for like running an event? I mean,
running an event, crowdfunding.
Don't be the face of the event, be the producer of the event. It's like the circus that I produce, I've never performed at it. It's like low-key a little bit a goal of mine, like at some point in my life, but like I'm not there yet, and that's okay. Don't know if I'll ever be there. So yeah, just like, I mean, Chanel, who is our circus ringleader, who's a very beloved member of the circus, is like the circus MC every time. Like they are such a just like prolific like entertainer and performer and audience engager. It's like, it's okay if like that's not my skill set. And so, I can just find people who I trust and who believe in this project, who do have that skill set to do that work, And I would, agree. I didn't even want to be in my pitch video until you all told me I had to be. I was like, no, I don't think so. Like, I think it's fine if I'm not. And it's like that, there has to be balance, because that is the truth. It's like the audience wants to know who is making this film. What is this person like? Do I connect to the person who's making this film? And it's like, people can connect to like shy, awkward little weirdos, because so many people are also that. So yeah, but I'd say, it's like, just do a short little spiel, practice it in the mirror, practice it in front of your friends, be really comfortable, like knowing that you're going to speak in front of the crowd or like on the Zoom call for whatever, 2 minutes, 3 minutes, just so they can assign a person to the project, and then be like, and now for the event with all of these people who are super confident.
Yeah. And just to piggyback off of that, like crowdfunding, we say if you take our workshop, which you totally should, we offer it pretty much every week for free. Danny, our digital storyteller, can throw the link in the comments. But we really recommend that. And honestly, like crowdfunding is not a solo effort. It is collaborative, the way that filmmaking is collaborative and most arts are in some way. And so it's about filling in gaps. So you don't have to do everything. You don't have to wear all the hats. We do say that you should appear in your pitch video because people do want to connect with you. But it could just be to say like, hi, I'm Christina, I'm blah, blah, blah. Now let my actors tell you a little bit about the film. Like put the charismatic people that love the spotlight on screen more, like if they're willing to do it. You can hide behind a lot of like language that's like we instead of I. And so that may make you feel a little bit more comfortable asking for things and putting yourself out there. It would be a lie if I said that it isn't uncomfortable to, ask for money, especially if you are a shyer person. There is a level of vulnerability there, and you do have to get comfortable with it. But it's about making sure that you're framing everything as around a why. Like there is a reason why your story matters, and if that's what you're offering to people, I think you'll find more comfort there. And also just remember that you have collaborators who can pick up some of the slack, and that it doesn't all have to fall on you, and it doesn't have to be all your face and constantly you in front of the camera.
Yeah, Christina, I think you touched on a really good thing, because I think the shyness around crowdfunding in particular comes a lot from the insecurity of not wanting to like be a narcissist and like feeling like, oh, why do I deserve this? But you have to remember, like, there's a reason you want to tell this story. There's a reason that you're passionate about it, that you're excited about it, and you went all the way through a crowdfunding workshop and built this whole thing. Like, there's a reason that you feel compelled to do that. And that reason is the same reason that people will be compelled to pay attention and to help you make it and to watch it and to share it with their friends. So center what the ask is and what the event is and what the theme of your talking about your project around the fact that you love this project and you want to tell this story. And if you remind yourself that all you're doing is getting people excited and then they can decide where to put their money or their eyeballs, like, it gets a lot less uncomfortable. If you genuinely believe in your story, just focus on that. Let it be a creative exercise and a way to just be excited in public. And you'll find a lot of success that way, just by reminding yourself why you care so much.
Yep.
Cool. Question. Let's see. Oh, we got another pitch from Michelle Fenn. A young woman learns she has psychic abilities only to fall prey to a scam before being recruited to a legitimate school for psychics. Interesting.
Okay.
I guess it depends on what kind of psychic abilities. But, you know, could you offer like tarot card readings? I don't know how much tarot plays into that, but like, there's a lot of, you know, styles of psychicness that you could potentially intertwine, you know, and get people who actually practice those things.
You could make fake.
It's a comedy series, she clarifies.
So you could just like make fake predictions for people. Like, I think that's
great. Yes.
Just go full charlatan with it. Get people like really outrageous readings. And
like to like up the ante, like a level up, if they add an additional $10, $15, they could tag one of their friends. So instead of it being a fake prediction about you, it's about your bestie. That way, this person who may not even know what the hell this thing is now also hears about your campaign, and maybe they'll follow because they loved the awesome tarot crazy prediction that you gave them.
Yeah, you can also give like couples readings where you say something insanely outrageous about a couple. And like, they ask a very straightforward question and you're like, I actually don't care if you stay together. Here's what your moon house is going to be like, you know, or something like that, where you just like, you never answer the question. You're like constantly dodging it, and everything you say is like very fantastical and absurd and potentially has a visual element to it. Yeah, there's a lot in there.
That's great.
Yeah. It's also fun, like, I don't know, if you were to throw a party and maybe everyone at random like gets something where they open it and there's like a fortune in it, or there's, you know, like there's just like a way that you can kind of revolve a party around predictions or yeah, like specifically what is the psychic ability, but I think we're all kind of going to the idea of foresight. But yeah, I think that like an event that has that, the elements of the tone of the piece in it would be really fun.
Yeah, I love that. So we're running out of time, so I want to try to get to as many of these as possible. Jill on YouTube, I guess we're always on YouTube now, pitches. My featured doc in progress is called Snowland, about an abused polygamist wife from a religious cult in Utah who escapes through her imagination into a fantasy world through drawing stories, and they continue costume designs in a faraway place she calls Snowland. It's hopeful and a courageous story about the healing power of art. So we've kind of talked about some similar themes previously, but the fantasy world feels like it's rife for stuff.
Oh yeah.
I mean, if you're doing the art, yeah.
We're both like, yeah. Yes, so we're on the same page. If you could offer some sort of art session where you know, whether you want to focus on one type of art or you're getting people together to all sort of work on whatever that artistic thing is, where they're getting together for that hour to do that thing collectively, that sounds pretty cool.
Yeah, art therapy session. You could also do commissions like live, like if you are the artist or if you know the artist already for this piece, doing like have them, you know, if people give a certain amount, then they say like, this is my fantasy version of my house, or this is my fantasy version of me as like a, you know, butterfly fairy or something like, and they could live draw it on stream as you talk about the film or, you know, something like that. That could be really fun.
Also the snow, sorry, go ahead, Shay.
Oh,
You're gonna say something? Okay. The snow is interesting. Like I assume there's snow in this fantasy land if it's Snowland. So like if you're crowdfunding during the winter and you could invite people to like hang out in the snow, like come build a snowman, come build a snow castle. Like I don't really know what else you would do in the snow, but like tie it into the theme somehow. Not everyone likes the snow, but some people do, and it might be really magical. So you like set up lights, and it's maybe like, you know, towards the evening, and it's really pretty. I don't know, there's just like a lot of different things. You can give people hot cocoa and make it a thing, you know.
And if it's not cold, you can use twinkle lights and do snow cones if you can't be in actual snow, but you can tie it in some cool ways.
Totally. Or like making inventive, like cut out snowflakes, those like paper snowflake things, and do that. And like, you know, or have like a decorating for winter time session where like you show them how you're decorating your room and you encourage people to like share what they're doing. And it just becomes like a fun, like, let's decorate together kind of time to set aside. Love that. Okay. Sherry pitches Acting Like Women, Performance Art and the Women's Building is a feature doc that revisits the California feminist art movement from the 1970s and 80s. The WB was a hotbed and incubator for new art forms. The Women's Building, I assume, is what the WB refers to.
Mm.
So, I mean, again, performance art. So if you can have some things, I mean, Shay has spoken about this, where you're offering, you know, if you give at a certain level, you get to be able to see this night of curated performance art that we have for you that spans these different genres. And you get to, you know, either watch it or even better, if you can make it interactive, that is great.
Totally. Yeah. Or get like a historian from that time. Since you're making a feature doc, I assume you have people who have like spoken about this, who are like there, who can just almost give like a little mini history lesson. Maybe it could be a PowerPoint as well, like have them just do like an hour-long history session, you know, that gets really like academic. People, there are a ton of history nerds out there and feminist nerds out there who would love to just like hear from someone who was there or who studies this time period in movement, like, you know, what was up. It almost acts as like a preview for your feature doc.
Yeah. Yeah. And you could make, you know, kind of like a little like online virtual screening of, you know, videos, like Bri was saying, archive videos of like some of the performance artists you're talking about. And you could intermix that with current performance artists who, you know, make art about similar themes and have like, whether it's in person or over the internet, have a night of just like contemporary performance artists and videos of old performance artists.
Totally. Yeah, I love that. So we have an Amani Davis question, which we've kind of covered a lot of the stuff that they ask. They're short films about a non-binary puppeteer artist in Chicago. Absolutely do a puppet show. Just do a puppet show for like, you should do a puppet show as much as you possibly can. But we've kind of talked about the other stuff. So I want to try to get through as many people as possible. But they are actively crowdfunding right now. So if you want to drop the link to your crowdfunding campaign in the comments, hey, if this sounds interesting to you guys, definitely check that out. Cheryl pitches a short doc about a modern family, 2 white dads and their adopted at birth son who is Black.
Short doc.
Docs are interesting because like it's real people and like there's an extent to which, you know, you got to be careful there. But
I mean, the first thing that comes out to me is just family and how, you know, while, you know, people are born into their families, when you get to choose your own family, there's something so precious about that. So, you know, calling in for having your community send in submissions or, you know, just have them join the Zoom and be able to talk about choosing their own families and how they've done so. Again, brings connection.
Yeah.
And maybe you could also be parenting tips, just like a fun parenting tips or parenting stories where you just like read funny stories about parents and kids, and it just becomes like a parenting hour for like parents to like vent and laugh at each other's various misfortunes of parenthood, and of course the celebratory aspects as well.
Yeah, work at this summer camp that has a like queer family camp weekend. And literally the highlight of the weekend is that all of the families do a family talent show. So you could do, so cute. It is so cute. So yeah, you could do, again, whether it's in person or online, have families like come up with silly little routines, or just like, it can be super open-ended, just like a joyful, you know, kind of celebration of family where they get to do whatever talent they feel like they have.
That's awesome.
That's really cute.
Yeah.
Cool. Let's see. Oh no, we have one more. Okay, Julen. I am doing a scary feature flick called Vicky's Vacation. I was thinking of lip gloss, sunglasses, and bikini and female filmmaking course, product placement, special VHS, horror memorabilia, BTS doc. Wow, that's a lot of stuff in there. Sounds like you're kind of on the right track.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think, yeah, just reminding yourself that like the most benefit you can get from an event is reaching people who would be interested in that, who also happen to be audience members. Like something that we talk about a lot in our crowdfunding workshop is the best place to meet people is in person when they're at something that you both enjoy or that your audience would theoretically enjoy. So if you can be the one making the event, then you're essentially just like bringing in all these people who are probably your audience members for the event, and then, you know, sneak into the crowdfunding thing. And of course you can do that online as well as in person.
Yeah. Like I feel like a haunted house would be really fun. Like
oh
that.
yeah. Well, and like it sounds like sunglasses, bikini, lip gloss. It sounds like maybe it's like a beach style like horror. So a beach themed haunted house. I've never seen that before, and that would be so cool. Maybe you could just, if you're doing it like live stream, could be a walkthrough of, you know, you make your apartment into a beach themed haunted house or something, and it's like almost like a VR experience where you're like taking your computer or your phone through at the live stream and like reacting to things, and like the audience is like coming along with you as like your POV.
Yeah, and I mean, if you have all of these products that you're thinking of, you should look into organizations that maybe you kind of want to like build a partnership with, and maybe you actually use their lip gloss or sunglasses or bikinis in the film, and you're able to like, you know, get into each other's networks throughout the whole process.
Totally. And it looks like we've got people collaborating in the comments already, wanting to share a Google Doc to help support each other. That's so cool, you guys. I love that. Someone asked if this is just for films. It's definitely not. If you have a project that you want to promote that isn't a film, definitely let us know, although we are running quickly out of time. So let's see.
I mean, a lot of what we're talking about can be applied to really any project. Like if we're talking like a horror novel as opposed to a film, you could still do a haunted house to promote that, right? Like you can still apply a lot of this, even if it's not visual.
Totally. Yeah. It's just all about like, what events do you attend? You know, what things like encourage you to click on a live stream link and actually show up instead of just RSVPing? Like, what things do you enjoy doing that are like related thematically or otherwise to the thing that you're making? Oh, really quick. I did promise my web series people that I would do this. So I had a zombie web series a couple of years ago. It was my first project ever. I didn't know what I was doing. Much to my own chagrin, because I love that project. And so I came up with a list of event ideas that I wish I had done for my zombie web series. And just to really quickly blaze through them, live stream zombie makeup tutorial. I had 2 incredible zombie makeup artists who knew a lot, both self-taught, and that would have been really fun to do. A vlogging through the apocalypse best practices in character, because it was a found footage series where this girl vlogged her way through a zombie apocalypse. And so like, you know, vlogging tips, the 3-point lighting in the apocalypse, things like that. Self-defense class, exactly the same idea as Christina's basically, but mine would be zombie themed probably. How to be a prepper without alienating your loved ones, ways to hide your hoarding habit. Where is the best place to store beans in your house where no one will find them? You know, just like silly things like that. A collaborative screening with other zombie web series creators. This is something I've been wanting to do for a long time and hope to do in the future when in-person screenings are a thing again, or maybe online, who knows? There are a lot of people that I know who I met through my zombie web series who also make zombie web series, and we all have our own spin, and it would have been so much fun to do a collaborative screening of all of our works where we get like just zombie fans together and show them the sort of spectrum of zombie media online, and also potentially a collaborative screening with other found footage narrative log projects, because that's a very popular genre in the web series world. So those are just those events. Let's see.
I want to say something real quick to piggyback off of what you were saying before that, Bri. The best way to figure out an event that will appeal to your audience is to ask them. So like, learn about your audience. Our crowdfunding workshop helps you figure that out. And again, it's not just for crowdfunding. It's really about audience building and how to talk to people and engage them. And you want to ask them, like, what do they like to do with their free time? And use that to figure out what a good event would be that would attract the kind of people who would contribute to your campaign, or who would watch your film or read your novel or whatever the action is.
Totally. So I think we're caught up basically. So any final thoughts, I guess, from everyone here around events and using this?
Just that it should be an essential part of any sort of crowdfunding or distribution, and not specifically for film, for any sort of project. Having some sort of event, whether virtual or in person, if you can do so safely, should be an essential part of your plan.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and they're also really fun. Make crowdfunding and marketing fun for yourself, because like anytime somebody asks us advice on stuff, it's usually because they're like dreading the process, but you don't have to. Like my last crowdfunding campaign was genuinely fun to run because we made it so fun and weird. Like, get weird, enjoy yourself, like do things that you would want to do. And not only will you have more fun doing the things that used to be a slog, but your audience will have more fun and will probably be like more supportive, because like they're not doing it out of pity or, you know, because they must, they're doing it because they want to. Also test your live streaming before you go live. Just blanket advice.
That's like that's blanket advice for just every day. All right, well, thanks everyone for tuning in. Coming up next, we have one of our creative sustainability sessions, which is what's keeping you from writing today. It's a really great panel. You should tune in on Friday. It's this Friday at 1 p.m. PT, 4 p.m. ET. And as a reminder, we do have a pay what you can option to support our education. We're really committed to offering all of our workshops, lunch and learns, creative sustainability sessions for free to anyone who wants to attend and have access, but it is hard to do without sponsors. So if you can give even just $1, that would help us sustain this and keep offering it for free to everyone. Thanks again, and enjoy the rest of your day.
Thanks for hanging out, everyone.
Thank you.